The city of San Francisco glittered under the fog, its skyline a jagged silhouette of ambition and innovation. In a sleek penthouse overlooking the bay, Emily Carter stared at her laptop screen, her fingers trembling not from the cold, but from rage. The email she just opened wasn't meant for her eyes. It was a forwarded thread, carelessly left in her ex-boyfriend's inbox, detailing his betrayal in cold, calculated words. Lucas Grant, tech mogul and Silicon Valley's golden boy, had cheated on her with her best friend, Mia. And worse, he'd bragged about it to his inner circle, calling Emily a stepping stone to his empire. Emily's heart pounded as she scrolled through the messages, each one a dagger. Lucas wasn't just her ex. He was her everything for 3 years. She'd stood by him when his startup was just a dream coded in a cramped garage, helped him debug lines of code at 3 a.m., and celebrated when his smart home automation company, NextGen Systems, went public, making him a billionaire at 29. Now, at 27, Emily was a cybersecurity expert in her own right, but Lucas had discarded her like an outdated prototype. She closed the laptop, her reflection staring back in the dark screen. Her brown eyes, usually warm, burned with something new resolve. Lucas thought he could humiliate her and walk away unscathed. He'd built his empire on smart technology, but Emily knew every wire, every line of code, every vulnerability. If Lucas thought his betrayal would break her, he was about to learn how wrong he was. Emily's apartment was a fortress of tech monitors lined the walls. Servers hummed in a climate-controlled closet, and a custom-built AI assistant nicknamed Shade responded to her voice commands. Shade, pull up the NextGen Systems architecture, she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Accessing restricted files, Shade replied in a smooth, synthetic tone. You sure about this, Em? This is Lucas's baby. I'm sure, Emily said, her lips curling into a grim smile. He's about to see what happens when you mess with someone who knows your system better than you do. Shade projected a 3D hologram of Lucas's latest project, a $50 million smart mansion in Palo Alto, touted as the most advanced home in the world. Every feature, lights, locks, cameras, even the coffee maker, was controlled by NextGen's proprietary AI Synapse. Lucas had bragged about its impenetrability, claiming it was hack-proof. Emily had helped design its security protocols during the relationship. But Lucas, in his arrogance, never changed the root access credentials after their breakup. Big mistake. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, bypassing firewalls with the ease of someone who'd written them. She wasn't just in, she was deep in. Synapse's dashboard lit up her screen, giving her control over every device in the mansion. Cameras showed Lucas lounging in his infinity pool, oblivious, sipping a drink while Mia laughed beside him. Emily's stomach churned, but she pushed the pain aside. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about Justice. The plan began to form that night, fueled by black coffee and a playlist of angry rock anthems. Lucas's mansion wasn't just a home. It was his brand. He hosted exclusive parties for investors, tech influencers, and celebrities, showcasing Synapse's flawless integration. His next big event was in 3 days, a gala to unveil NextGen's new line of AI-driven appliances. The guest list included Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and half of Silicon Valley's elite. If Emily wanted to hit him where it hurt, this was her chance. She started small, testing the system's limits. At 2 a.m., she triggered the mansion's sprinklers, drenching Lucas's prized outdoor lounge. The cameras caught him scrambling out of bed, cursing as he slipped on wet marble. Emily stifled a laugh, but this was just a warm-up. She needed something bigger, something that would humiliate Lucas in front of his world. Digging deeper into Synapse's code, she found a hidden feature Lucas hadn't publicized, a total immersion mode designed to sync every device in. the house to a single command, creating a cinematic experience for guests. Lights could pulse to music, walls could project holographic scenes, and the AI could even simulate weather effects indoors. It was a showstopper, meant to dazzle at the gala. Emily's mind raced. What if she turned his masterpiece against him? Over the next 2 days, Emily worked in a frenzy, crafting a custom script to hijack Synapse's immersion mode. She embedded commands that would override Lucas's controls, turning the mansion into her puppet. She programmed the lights to flicker erratically, the speakers to blast incriminating audio from Lucas's emails, and the holographic projectors to display his betrayal in vivid detail. She even hacked the smart mirrors to flash messages like liar and betrayer at random intervals. Every move was calculated to unravel Lucas's carefully curated image. But Emily wasn't reckless. She covered her tracks meticulously, routing her commands through a series of encrypted VPNs and spoofed IPs. Lucas's security team would see nothing but noise random glitches, not a coordinated attack. She also set a failsafe. If anyone tried to trace her, the script would self-destruct, leaving no evidence. As the gala approached, Emily felt a mix of adrenaline and dread. She wasn't just hacking a system. She was declaring war on someone she'd once loved. Late at night, staring at her monitors, she whispered to Shade, "Am I going too far?" Shade's response was dry. "You're asking an AI for moral advice?" "I'd say you're already in deep, Em. Might as well see it through." She nodded, steeling herself. Lucas had built his empire on trust in his tech, trust in his vision. Emily was about to shatter it all. On the night of the gala, Emily sat in her apartment, a glass of wine untouched beside her. The mansion's cameras streamed live to her screen, showing guests arriving in Teslas and Lamborghinis, their faces lit by the glow of Lucas's perfectly manicured estate. Lucas stood at the entrance, all charm and confidence, shaking hands with tech titans. Mia clung to his arm, her smile as fake as her loyalty. Emily's finger hovered over the execute button. One click, and her script would unleash chaos. But as she watched Lucas laugh, a memory flashed his hand in hers, promising they'd conquer the world together. For a moment, doubt crept in. Could she really do this? Then she saw Mia whisper something in Lucas's ear, and his smug grin returned. That was enough. Emily pressed the button. The mansion's lights flickered. A low hum grew into a screech as the speakers came alive. And then Lucas's voice echoed through the estate, reading his own email. Emily was just a means to an end. I'm done with her. The gala froze. Faces turned pale. Lucas's jaw dropped as the holographic walls lit up, projecting his email thread in 10-foot letters. Emily leaned closer to her screen, her heart racing. This was just the beginning. The grand ballroom of Lucas Grant's Palo Alto smart mansion was a cathedral of tech opulence. Crystal chandeliers pulsed with LED lights, synchronized to a soft ambient track that flowed from hidden speakers. Silicon Valley's elite mingled, sipping champagne as holographic waiters, another next-gen innovation, glided through the crowd, offering hors d'oeuvres. Lucas stood on a raised platform, his tailored suit catching the light as he prepared. To demo Synapse, his AI had promised to redefine luxury living. Beside him, Mia sparkled in a silver dress, playing the perfect partner. The air buzzed with anticipation. Miles away, in her dimly lit apartment, Emily Carter watched it all unfold through the mansion's hacked security feeds. Her script was live, burrowing deeper into Synapse's core. The execute command had triggered. The first blow, Lucas's damning email, broadcasted to the gale, but that was just the opening act. Her fingers hovered over her keyboard, ready to unleash the next phase. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with the thrill of control. Lucas had built this world. She was about to tear it down. The ballroom speakers crackled again, cutting. Off the ambient music. Guests flinched as Lucas's voice boomed once more, this time from a different email. Mia's just arm candy for the investors. She thinks she's special, but she's replaceable. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mia's face drained of color, her smile frozen as she turned to Lucas, who looked like he'd been punched. The holographic walls shifted, displaying more of his emails in glaring red text. The board doesn't need to know about the data breaches. We'll bury it. Whispers turned to murmurs. Investors exchanged uneasy glances. Lucas lunged for the control panel on the platform, frantically, tapping to shut down Synapse. "It's a glitch," he shouted, his voice cracking. Just a technical hiccup, but Emily had anticipated this. She'd locked him out of the system, rerouting admin access to a dummy interface. Every tap he made triggered another surprise. The lights began strobing violently, casting the room in a disorienting flicker of red and blue. Guests shielded their eyes, some stumbling toward the exits. Then the smart mirrors activated. Every reflective surface in the mansion bathroom. Vanities, hallway panels. Even the glass bar flashed a single word. ULIAR. The word pulsed in sync with the lights, branding Lucas in front of his empire. A tech journalist in the crowd pulled out her phone, live streaming the chaos to her 2 million followers. Emily smirked as she saw the stream pop up on her secondary monitor. The internet was already exploding. In her apartment, Emily's AI assistant, Shade, chimed in. "Social media's going wild, Em. Hashtags #Lucas lied and #Smart Mansion Meltdown are trending. You're viral." "Not done yet," Emily muttered, typing a new command. She activated the mansion's total immersion mode, twisting Lucas's prized feature into a nightmare. The holographic projectors roared to life, transforming the ballroom into a surreal reenactment of Emily's heartbreak. Ghostly images of her and Lucas flickered across the walls, moments from their past, reconstructed from photos and videos she'd pulled from his cloud storage. The crowd watched, transfixed, as a hologram of Lucas laughed with Emily, only for the scene to morph into him kissing Mia, the timestamp glaring. 6 months ago. Guests were no longer whispering, they were shouting. A venture capitalist in a corner yelled into his phone, "Pull our funding now." Mia stormed off the platform, tears streaming as Lucas chased after her, pleading. But Emily wasn't finished. She triggered the mansion's climate system, and a fine mist began to fall from the ceiling, simulating rain. The sprinklers followed, soaking designer gowns and custom suits. Chaos erupted as guests scrambled for cover, their phones capturing. Every second Emily leaned back, her pulse racing. She'd planned for spectacle, but this was beyond her expectations. The gala was imploding, and Lucas's reputation was drowning in the deluge. But as she watched him slip on the wet floor, desperation in his eyes, a pang of guilt hit her. Was this too much? She shook it off. He'd humiliated her, used her, discarded her. This was justice. Lucas's security team was now in a frenzy, huddled in the mansion's control room. Emily watched them through a backdoor feed, their screens flashing errors as they tried to regain control. "It's a targeted attack," one shouted. "Someone's in the system." But Emily's encrypted. Pathways kept her invisible. Every attempt to trace her led to dead-end servers in Reykjavik, proxies in Singapore. She was a ghost. Back at the gala, the chaos reached its peak. The speakers now played a loop of Lucas's voice, stitched from his emails. "I used her. I don't care. She's nothing." The words echoed as the holographic walls displayed a final message. Next-gen systems, built on lies. The crowd was thinning, investors and influencers fleeing to their cars. Lucas stood alone on the platform, drenched and defeated, his empire crumbling in real time. Emily's screen pinned with notifications. Tech blogs were already publishing headlines. Billionaire's smart mansion, hacked at gala disaster. Twitter sorry. X was ablaze with memes of Lucas slipping in the rain. Her revenge was complete, almost. There was one final move, one she hadn't planned until this moment. She hesitated, her finger over the keyboard. Should she push it further? Shade's voice cut through her thoughts. You've got there. Attention, Em. What's the encore? Emily's eyes narrowed. Something he'll never forget. The Palo Alto smart mansion was a war zone of waterlogged dreams. Sprinklers drenched the fleeing guests, their designer outfits clinging to them. As they stumbled into the night, the holographic walls, still under Emily Carter's control, blazed with accusations. Next-gen systems, built on lies. Lucas Grant, once the untouchable tech titan, stood soaked and alone on the gala's platform, his face a mask of panic. As his empire unraveled, the speakers looped his own words. I used her. I don't care. She's nothing, each syllable a nail in the coffin of his reputation. Silicon Valley's elite, from venture capitalists to influencers, were already tweeting the disaster, their posts lighting up the internet with hashtags like hashtag Lucas lied and hashtag smart mansion meltdown .miles away. Emily sat in her San Francisco apartment, her monitors aglow with live feeds from the mansion's cameras. Her custom script had turned Lucas's pride and joy into a public humiliation machine, and the world was watching. Her AI assistant, Shade, hummed in the background, feeding her real-time analytics. X is at 1.2 million posts and counting, Shade reported, its synthetic voice almost gleeful. TechCrunch just published. Next-gen's gala disaster? A hack or a hoax? You're trending globally, Emily's lips twitched into a half-smile, but her eyes stayed locked on the screen. Lucas was scrambling, barking orders at his security team through a headset, but every attempt to shut down Synapse failed. She'd locked them out, rerouting their controls to a dead-end interface. Her fingers hovered over her keyboard, poised to unleash her final move, a coup de grace she'd coded in a fit of rage just hours ago. It was riskier than anything she'd done, a step beyond humiliation into something that could ruin Lucas permanently. But as she watched him, desperation etched into his features, a flicker of doubt crept in. Was this who she wanted to be? Back at the mansion, the chaos was spiraling. The smart mirrors, now flashing betrayer in blood-red letters, reflected the horrified faces of the remaining guests. The climate system, still in Emily's grip, shifted from rain to a chilling mist, turning the ballroom into a surreal fogscape. Holographic projectors flickered, now displaying a montage of Lucas's private moments stolen from his cloud storage, showing him laughing off safety concerns about next-gen's tech, dismissing regulators, and mocking his own team. They'll buy anything if it's shiny, his hologram sneered. The words pulled from a late-night video call Emily had unearthed. The crowd was thinning fast. A prominent investor, her face livid, shoved past Lucas, shouting, "You're done, Grant." A tech YouTuber with 5 million subscribers was live streaming, narrating the meltdown to a growing audience. This is unreal, folks. Lucas Grant's smart mansion is turning on him. The stream's view count ticked past 300,000, each second amplifying Emily's revenge. She'd wanted the world to see Lucas for who he was, and now they did, but Lucas wasn't giving up. In the mansion's control room, his lead engineer, Raj, was frantically typing, trying to bypass Emily's lockout. Someone spoofed the root access. Raj yelled, his screen flashing error codes. It's like they built this system. Lucas froze, his eyes narrowing. He knew only one person who could pull this off. Emily, he whispered, the name a curse dot in her apartment. Emily's heart skipped as she saw Lucas mouth her name. On the camera feed. Did he know? Her VPNs and proxies were ironclad, but Lucas wasn't stupid. He'd helped her hone her skills after all. She shook off the unease and focused on her final script, dubbed Endgame. It was a nuclear option, a command to overload Synapse's core, frying every smart device in the mansion and wiping its servers clean. It wouldn't just humiliate Lucas. It would tank NextGen's stock, cripple his company, and leave him with nothing but a $50 million husk of a house. Her finger hovered over the enter key, the weight of the decision pressing down. Shade's voice broke the silence. You're at a crossroads, Em. Endgame will destroy him, but it'll also burn every bridge you've got in this industry. You ready for that? Emily's jaw tightened. She'd been invisible in Silicon Valley, always in Lucas's shadow. This was her chance to be seen, to show the world what she was capable of. But at what cost? She thought of her late nights coding. With Lucas, the dreams they'd shared before he'd betrayed her. She thought of Mia, her former best friend, who'd stabbed her in the back. And she thought of herself alone, but unbroken. She pressed the key. The mansion system screamed. Every light surged to blinding brightness, then exploded in a shower of sparks. The speakers let out a final, ear-splitting wail before going. Silent. The holographic walls froze on a single image. A pixelated heart, cracked in two, with the words "Game Over" pulsing across it. Then, darkness. The entire mansion went offline, its smart systems reduced to dead circuits. Guests screamed, stumbling through the fog and debris, their phones the only light as they fled. Lucas fell to his knees on the platform, staring at the blackened walls. His phone buzzed with alerts NextGen stock was plummeting in after hours. Trading, investors pulling out in droves. His security team radioed in. The servers are wiped. We've got nothing. Lucas's empire, built on years of ambition and deceit, was gone in minutes. Emily watched it all, her breath shallow. The cameras were down, but she'd tapped into a nearby traffic cam, catching glimpses of guests spilling onto the street, their faces a mix of shock and glee. X was now a firestorm of memes, hot takes, and conspiracy theories. Some called it the hack of the century. Others speculated Lucas had staged it for publicity. But Emily knew the truth. She'd won. Or had. She, as the adrenaline faded, a hollow ache settled in her chest. She'd dismantled Lucas's world, but what did it leave her with? Her monitors glowed with notifications, job offers from rival tech firms, messages from journalists begging for interviews, even a DM from a hacker collective calling her a legend. But none of it filled the void. She'd wanted justice, not destruction. Had she gone too far? Days later, the fallout was everywhere. NextGen stock had tanked 60%, and Lucas was facing lawsuits from investors and regulators. Rumors swirled that he'd fled to a private island, leaving his team to clean up the mess. Mia, humiliated by the gala's revelations, had vanished. From social media, her influencer career in tatters. The mansion, once a beacon of innovation, was a dark, empty shell, its systems unrecoverable. Emily, meanwhile, was a ghost. She'd wiped her digital fingerprints, shut down her VPNs, and even dismantled Shade's servers to avoid any trace. She'd moved to a new apartment, a small studio in Oakland, where she worked under a pseudonym, consulting for startups too small to care about her past. The tech world buzzed with speculation about the mansion hacker, but no one could prove it was her. One night, as she sipped tea by her window, a news alert popped up on her phone. NextGen Systems declares bankruptcy. She stared at the headline, waiting for triumph, but all she felt was quiet. Lucas had lost everything, but so had she her trust, her love, her place in the world they'd built together. Shade, now reinstalled on a new server, broke the silence. Regrets him? She sighed, setting down her mug. Maybe, but I showed them what I'm made of. Shade chuckled, a rare warmth in its tone. You showed the world, kid. What's next? Emily looked out at the city lights, a new spark in her eyes. Something better. Months later, a new startup emerged from the ashes of Silicon Valley's gossip. Called Vanguard Security, it promised unbreakable cybersecurity, led by an anonymous founder known only as Spectre. Its first product? A smart home system that couldn't be hacked, not even by its creator. Tech blogs raved, investors poured in, and X buzzed with theories about Spectre's identity. Some whispered it was the mansion hacker, risen from the shadows in her Oakland studio. Emily smiled at her screen, her new code running flawlessly. She'd turned her pain into power, her revenge into redemption. Lucas had underestimated her, but the world wouldn't. Not anymore. And that, folks, is how one woman brought down a tech empire and built her own.